We'll call the meeting to order.
Yes.
Okay, in doing so, I will call on Councilor Eagle.
Thank you. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge our meeting place. The City of Flin Flon Council Chambers is situated on the ancestral lands of the Treaty 5 territory. We would like to acknowledge that we also work in partnership with First Nations in Treaty 6 and Treaty 10 territories and with the Métis Nation.
Thank you. And speaking of the Métis Nation, and I'm learning new things today, we're going to have a proclamation read, and I appreciate Councilor Litwin would do that for us.
Sure. So this is the part of the Moosehide Campaign Day with the Moosehide Campaign Development Society. So whereas the Moosehide Campaign is an Indigenous-led grassroots movement of men, boys, and all Canadians standing up to end violence against women, children, and all those along the gender continuum, and whereas the Moosehide Campaign was founded along the Highway of Tears in British Columbia in response to the injustices and violence faced by many women and children in Canada, particularly those who are Indigenous, whereas intimate partner violence is at epidemic proportions across Canada, with more than 4 in 10 women having experienced it in their lifetime, and this reality is worse for Indigenous women, who are twice as likely to experience violence from their current or former partners. Whereas the Moosehide Campaign has distributed over 5 million Moosehide pins that each spark 5 conversations about issues of violence against women, children, and all those along the gender continuum. Whereas wearing the Moosehide pin demonstrates a commitment to honor, respect, and protect the women and children in your life, end gender-based violence, and take meaningful action towards reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. Whereas participation in the Moosehide Campaign is a concrete action for all citizens to address the legacies of colonization, residential schools, and the reality of more than 1,200 missing or murdered women in Canada. Whereas engagement with the Moosehide Campaign aligns with the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls to action, and the calls for justice for the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. It is therefore requested that the City of Flin Flon, Manitoba proclaims May 16th, 2024 as Moosehide Campaign Day. That the city's corporate and strategic communications department promote the passage of this resolution on the appropriate corporate communication channels.
Thank you. I think that speaks for itself, and I appreciate you doing it, Councilor Litwin. And if you can see, why don't you show them what you got on?
I'm actually today wearing my Moosehide council chambers.
So I've learned all kinds of new things in the last half hour that I wasn't aware of. So we'll follow through now with the reading and confirming of minutes of Councilor Smith.
Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held April 23rd, 2024 be adopted as received.
Seconder, Councilor Richardson, all in favor? And that's passed. Resolutions, and we'll go to Councilor Dallas Funk for that.
Thank you. Check schedule 19-02, be it resolved that the accounts in the amount of $650,556.88 be approved for payment.
Seconder, Councilor Eagle, all in favor? And that is done. Okay.
Myself.
Councilor Dallas Funk again.
BL 2024-07 mill rate, first reading 19-03. Be it resolved that the bylaw number 2024-07 being a bylaw governing estimates and to set the mill rate for 2024 for general purposes, school purposes, and uncontrollable purposes be read a first time and passed on first reading.
Seconder, Councilor Richardson, all in favor? Okay. The next one is Councilor Hanson.
Bylaw 2024-08. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-08 being a bylaw of the City of Flin Flon to provide for the making of business assessment and the levying of a business tax in conformity with the Municipal Act, Section 306, be read a first time and passed on first reading.
Seconder, Councilor Litwin, all in favor?
Bylaw 2024-09. Fee in lieu of business tax. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-09 being a bylaw to provide for the levying and collection of a fee in lieu of business tax for the year of 2024 as required by Section 7 of bylaw number 2024-08. Be ready first time.
Seconder, Councilor Eagle, all in favor? And we move to Councilor Eagle.
Yes, thank you. Resolution 19-06 regarding Equipment Reserve Fund. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-10, being a bylaw of the city of Flin Flon, to provide for raising monies by a special tax to augment the Equipment Replacement Reserve Fund, created by bylaw number 2376, be read a first time and passed on first reading.
Seconder, Councillor Dallas Monk. All in favor?
And the next first reading is Resolution 1907, General Reserve Fund. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-11, being a bylaw of the city of Flin Flon, to provide for raising monies by a special tax to augment the General Reserve Fund, created by bylaw number 27/88, be read a first time and passed on first reading.
Seconder, Councillor Slip. All in favor? Thank you. And we move to Councillor Litwin.
I have one resolution, your worship, resolution 19-08, be it resolved that the bylaw number 2024-06, being a bylaw of the city of Flin Flon, to amend bylaw 5/2007, a bylaw to establish the city of Flin Flon Parks and Recreation Commission and creating a board of directors, Schedule A, Section 17, be read a second time and passed on second reading.
Seconder, Councillor Eagle again, and all in favor? Okay. And Councillor Richardson.
Bylaw 19-09, 8.29 abuse policy approval. Be it resolved that the policy number 8.29 abuse policy as attached here be approved.
Okay, we need a seconder for that, Councillor Slip. And all in favor? And that is passed. We have a fire chief report.
19-10, be it resolved that the fire chief's report for the month of March 2024 be received and filed. And I'll just quickly,
I'll take a seconder.
sorry.
Seconder, Councillor Richardson. Go ahead.
Just to go quickly through some of the incidents, there's a fire alarm at the Flin Flon Airport March 4th. It was cleared and returned, and the fire department returned to station. There was a motor vehicle accident, 76 Fleishmere, on March 12th. The scene was left in control. A vehicle hit a hydro pole, and I don't think anybody was injured. Fire alarm, 60 Hapnot Street on March 21st. An alarm had activated at a residence. Crews responded on scene. The building was searched, and burnt cooking was found to be the issue. Fire alarm, 53 Callanan, March 28th. Call was received from alarm company that indicated an alarm had activated at a residence. Crew responded to scene and found the alarm had been activated due to dust from cleaning. The fire department also did some training, airport plans and procedures, hydrant catching and operations, driver training, and some administrative things, the sketch and emergency, joint operations planning, standard operation wildlife procedure network, and Northern Lights driver training program. So that's the fire chief's report for March 2024.
Okay, now we do need to be all in favor. And that's passed. With that, we would move to adjournment.
I'll make that.
Okay, thank you. And then we will move on to press questions.
So I guess my first question, Steve, is Moose Hide campaign day, it's May 16th, you said.
Yes.
Is the city going to be doing something to commemorate that?
Well, I know for sure that there's some local schools, I think Hatmont and many faces have a march plan for. I'd have to look. I think it is the 16th, but I don't. I'll have to look at my calendar here. So they're doing a march as they've done the last couple of years. That would be, I think, kind of the main takeaway. Like just acknowledging it, and then as well, I'm not sure other agencies and that, but like I picked up this pin from work last year. Kind of
Okay.
Got that. Give me 1 second. And Lynn, do you have that date in front of you? Because there was just some changes with that.
No, I don't.
Okay. I think the March was May 16th.
That's the day that was
Yeah, that's the proclamation.
Problem.
Likely, yeah. May 16th, they're going to do a walk leaving the Many Faces and student parking lot around 11 a.m. is the plan. And yeah, open to the community if anyone wanted to come over, just march.
I guess the next question I have is just going through these resolutions here. This one, BL 2024-7 mill rate. It says general purposes, school purposes, and agricultural purposes. Now, what is this specifically talking about?
What this is our general budget that we're going to be doing a public hearing on May 22nd.
That's for the water, right?
No, the water is May 22nd. So the public hearing on May 22nd is our budget.
Or the 22nd?
Yeah, it's our budget for the city. And that's where you will get to see all of the numbers for the general operating budget, the same numbers will be in there. And that's related to what I think there's about 4 of them here, 4 or 5 bylaws. This is first reading, so we can start the process. We will do second reading at the next council meeting. Then we have the public hearing, and then it will be another week before we do third reading, so there's some time to do that.
Okay, so May the 22nd, that'll be here at 7 p.m.
It's either 7 or 6:30. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's been in the paper and
You know what?
It's usually all at 6:30. I don't remember the exact date, but I'm sure it was suspended.
May 7th?
The 22nd.
22nd.
22nd, yes.
Yeah.
And 27th is the water meeting, and that's a whole different thing. It's
20.
over there, it's not here.
Okay, so this other one here about this, making of a business assessment, the levying of a business tax, again specifically, what's that talking about?
It's all the same. They all come from the budget.
Oh, they're all from the budget?
They're all from the budget.
And that'd be the same thing as equipment replacement reserve fund
Yes,
as well?
yes, that's correct. And all of those numbers are then highlighted when I do my presentation. I talk about them so that you look at them as a whole picture rather than just one level.
Okay, so we'll throw all that.
All 5 of this first few measures are within the budget. We always get thrown in the meeting for, right? Yeah.
Okay, that's good, thank you.
All right, wanted to check in about what was mentioned down here as the abuse policy approval. I know the city, at least earlier on during this session of the council, there was a workplace abuse or harassment policy passed. Is this in addition to that, or is this supplanting that?
Do you want to talk about it or do you want?
It's in addition to that.
Okay.
And where this policy comes from, this is a requisite by our insurer, I think Western Insurance. And that comes directly from them. That's their wording and that's what they demand.
Okay.
And anything else that we may want to do besides in that whole policy section, policy 8, we're still working on other parts of that policy that will come to light soon enough as well. But this is a must.
The other piece that's relevant to that particular policy is that it's also about policy to provide us direction. If someone were to come to us and say, a vulnerable person, they felt a vulnerable person was possibly abused at some point, and that was then reported to one of us, and then we have this policy to outline.
Okay.
So it really takes care of any possible liability because it's very clearly laid out. I mean, people in the general public obviously should know that you simply have to be so very careful, whether you're staff or whether you're public, when you're dealing with children, under the age of majority, the vulnerable population, people in vulnerable situations. But this actually lays it out. So it not only protects that part of our population, it protects that part of our staff and our city employees that deal with children, with vulnerable people in the population. And it provides safety for us legally going forward, as well as what Ms. Brown says is a footprint or a blueprint, really, as far as what it is and how it's dealt with.
So you mentioned this is basically, maybe not necessarily mandated is the word, but like part of the deal with the
A
insurer.
requirement. It's a requisite.
Required.
Yeah, it needs to be clearly laid out. That wording comes from Western Insurance. And of course, once we understood all of that, then that's the way it goes.
Okay. So then In that case, is there anything within this policy as it's laid out that isn't already covered under the existing city workplace and use policy? Like, is this just like, was it already covered by that, or is this covering new things too, or?
I think it's just explained better. It probably was, the insurance companies are always evolving, so I'm pretty sure that they want more and more detail in their policies, and that would probably be why. I know construction insurance in the last 10 years is off the charts, different than what it was when I was in business. So I've just been driving by, so it's crazy.
Fair enough. Also wanted to check in on pool construction, because I know obviously there has been some in the last little bit. Has the city been kept apprised of how that's been going, and how's it going according to this existing schedule?
On schedule.
Yeah, awesome.
They're working 10 and 4, so they work for 10 days straight, and then you'll see them gone for 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah, so every once in a while, I'm sure when people go around and no one's there, they're thinking, oh, they're behind or oh, something. But because they're crews always from out of town, they're doing a 10 and 4.
I can guarantee that the city is well aware of what's going on.
Well, because of the weather, like ordinarily, you can't pour concrete till May long weekend. And there's no frost in the ground. I was digging a hole the other day. There's no frost in the ground. So crazy.
It certainly
It's
doesn't
never
seem,
been this early.
certainly doesn't seem like there's been any problem dating there. It's like one by the
No.
other day, and then pretty deep hole.
Yeah. That's what needs a pool.
I mean, it's like you need one for the meeting or something, right? Like, okay, so we wanted to check in on that. Also wanted to ask about the amend parks petting zoo second reading. This came up at the last meeting, and just looking over this really quickly. One thing that caught my eye with this bylaw. Therefore, the Council of the City of Flin Flon meeting duly assembled and acts as follows: that Schedule A be amended by deleting Section 17 and replacing the following: the northerly 100.58 meters of Lot 94, Plan 643. I can just feel the excitement sucked out of the room saying that minutia, but what are we looking at with this precisely?
Essentially what this doing is maintaining the area where the zoo is classified.
Okay.
And so then the area where we talked about a lot recently with regards to the possibility of the assisted living and some of the rezoning that we have to do, that allows us to have that small part removed. But the part where the zoo is and the green space will remain part.
Okay. The northerly 100 meters of that block and plan. Now, I'm not really good at mapping distance from this onto like what we're looking at here. 100 meters, is that, does that cover the whole zoo property there on the northern part of that parcel? Or what are we looking at with that?
The only thing it doesn't cover is the south part where we want to be able to have access to it. And the park, whatever works for that. The zoo.
Dear word.
Sorry. But, I was gonna say.
I would not want to go there.
It's all going to be maintained.
And certainly anybody who lives in the area around the zoo will attest that it certainly smells like that a few days of summer. But so the northern, like the northernmost 100 meters or so that's blocked off, how much of that parcel is now left for any sort of assisted living or development project there? Like how big is the rest of that block now? Like another 100 meters?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd actually have to look at it to see what those measurements are.
Okay. I'll annoy you with it.
I was gonna say, you can ask me tomorrow, then I can tell you.
Yeah, I can do that, that's no problem. Also wanted to ask, acting on something that I'd heard about a recent fire situation in town. I wanted to ask about the state of fire hydrants around Flin Flon. I was told that there have been a couple of calls recently where members of the fire department have tried to tap into a fire hydrant to get water for fire, and the hydrant isn't in working order or something like that, or there isn't enough water, anything like that. Has city council been made aware of this at any point? And if so, like what are we looking at for addressing that?
You wanna take this, Bill, or would you like me to?
Yeah, you go ahead,
Okay.
because this is the first I'm hearing of this.
Yeah, and so what I'm thinking about is, the one instance that I'm thinking about, there's more than one hydrants. Like hydrants are placed in many different places. And so there are times when we do have one that we have had some difficulty with and we're working with it. But we always make the fire department aware of those, and so they know right away where to access from another fully functioning hydrant.
Okay.
And so, in fact, I think what we're going to be doing in the relative near future is we're going to get some questions, so you'll see us working on hydrants. And anything that we find that isn't functioning to 100%, we'll be repairing those.
Okay. Is there, like, obviously you mentioned like the fire department's been made aware of any fire hydrants that don't work properly or up to 100% specification. Is there like an internal list of where these locations may be so that they can be avoided, or like, is it just like, hey, don't go there, I remember that one didn't work? Like, is it formalized or?
You know who would be the best person to ask that question of? Our fire chief.
And also, when we find a fire hydrant that doesn't work, we really try to get it working as quickly as possible. Or depending on what the project is up the road, sometimes there's other projects that maybe get in the way of that fire hydrant. But fire hydrants are pretty, if you go down the street, there's a fire hydrant. I don't know what the footage is. I know my insurance is less because I have one in my yard. And it works.
How much does it cost on average, knowing that sometimes that could fluctuate up or down, but how much would you say it costs to fix a hydrant that isn't properly working?
I have a $14 million budget, so if you need that answer, you have to talk to me tomorrow and I can look it up.
Okay, fair enough. Well, in that case, I assume that there is some money dedicated in this budget for hydrant repair?
There's always money dedicated to the fire department.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know 20 years ago, if you ran into one, it cost you $1,700 to replace them. No, 30 years ago, because I ran into one once.
And that's quite some time ago.
So you think it's probably, what's a fire hydrant worth today? 5, 7 grand?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to take a guess.
Yeah, I'm guessing what I
I
said.
feel better about looking it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just the hydrant itself, not the actual
That's just
like
the hydrant.
hookup or maintenance of the lines attached to it or anything like that.
To replace a fire hydrant is 8 to 10 hours manpower.
Yeah,
Yeah, on top of the cost of materials.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you do, I think.
So I will annoy you again with
Absolutely.
information about that tomorrow morning. And I think that just about do it for my questions.
I just got one more quick one. I know it's come up at council before, but I want to ask again. Is anything happening with the Flin Flon Hotel? I haven't seen any activity over there at all.
Is anything happening today? No, we're still in conversation with the original people who were doing it. We are expecting a site visitation within the next couple of weeks, and if that happens, we'll be able to provide you with some insight. I'm hoping that it does happen, and when it does, I'll be glad to give you an answer.
Okay.
So when's the last time anybody involved in that project has met with council? It's been a bit, right?
There's quite a bit of discussion with our CAO,
Okay.
because we're not at that level now.
Yeah.
But are we talking like, what would the nature of that then? Is it just like an ongoing correspondence, or are we talking about set up meetings, or like, what are we?
I specifically asked to set up a meeting in the last email, so yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good shout actually, because like, I think, obviously with the winter building, something during that outdoors is not really gonna work, but I hadn't seen anything going on there a bit. Has there also been, to build off of that, there was mention of the possibility of possibly having anybody working on that project shack up at the staff house across the way. Has there been any discussion about that taking place this year or at a future date?
Yeah, those are discussions we've had as well, but we haven't made clear decisions yet, so.
Okay. And any tenders or anything like that aren't out, right? Those are there tenders out right now with anything to do with that project in the city, or?
With regards to the hotel,
Anything to do with the hotel, like cutting off, electricity, cutting off power, cutting off water, or anything like that, sewer?
yeah, those are definitely things that the contractor is going to have to do for the hotel. So, like Chris's hydro wouldn't come from us, that conversation wouldn't be with us.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if that was already done before, like.
I don't think there's any power going to that building right now.
yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, there's nothing, and I believe the water line's been
Yeah.
shut off a long time ago.
Okay.
think you're right, Billy.
Yeah, no.
Okay, that's fair. I mean,
Remember, they're gutting it. There's gonna be, none of that infrastructure that's there right now is gonna be there when they start working on it.
it's been a long time since I was in there, and when I was in there, it was in the middle of another construction project, so I didn't know what was and wasn't like available.
It's worse than it was then. That's all I'll say.
I can believe it. I can believe it. Yeah. Yeah, I've got nothing else to jump onto that, so.
You're done, thank you. Is there any comments or questions from the gallery? No? Thank you very much.
I have one more thing.
Yeah, what's it? Yes,
Congratulations to the Bombers on an incredible year. It was a great speech you gave at the supper the other day, George.
thank you.
Yeah.
It was an honor to be invited to represent the city at their wind-up. They had a closed wind-up because of the kind of rushed way the season ended, and they wanted to get their young men a chance to get home. So, but I did go and represent the city, and Bill went for a different reason. It was lovely to see, them giving the send-off to all those guys who gave the town such a joyous winter. So, we wish them well for next year.
Amen.
It's a great organization.
Yeah.
Did you, I saw your hand, did you change your mind?